Oh my God.
Getting that filled out, we would really appreciate it. We also, if you are hungry, we have a lot of snacks over on our snack table. You're welcome to take a nibble if you would like. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started, so go ahead and get settled in. And thank you again for coming tonight.
Facilitator from We the People, who is running this event tonight. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. It's so lovely to see this crowd of people gathered in together to try and discuss how we might be able to improve our community. I kind of want to go a little ad-lib here for just a moment, which most of the night I'll be doing anyway. We were kind of preparing for this event yesterday, and in the midst of some of the turmoil talking about how we're pull everything together, I kind of threw out a little bit of a personal ethos that I want to bring into the room with us right now. And that personal ethos is, this is kind of a compost heap, what we are doing here today. The way democratic processes have been running in our country, at least the last 50, 60 years, if not most of the time it's been running, has really been top-down approach of the powerful kind of handing scraps off to us and us doing our best to cobble that all together. And so we're here to say, we're not just going to throw those disparately on the ground, we're going to gather them into a system. It may be messy, but it's real, and it's born out of actual human experience. And so human experience is what we've got to work with as people on the bottom rungs of what the current institutions are operating under. So without getting too deep into that, we are hosting this under the We the People Action Fund, which is a statewide organization. And so we've been all, our team here, Teresa, Zeke, and all of the others, are all working really closely with our the coordinator, Ruby Miller here. So I'm going to put Ruby on stage for a moment here to tell you a little bit more about what the We the People is.
Great, thank you everybody. I'm Ruby Miller. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the organizer for We the People Action Fund. We are a statewide organization that is working on building multiracial, working class solidarity and coordination around issues that affect us across the state. And tonight we're gathering here to talk about the surplus funding that the county found that they're trying to decide what to do with. And we think that the people in the community should decide what that is used for the community. And this is a conversation that's happening around stuff like the funds here in our county, but also the state budget, funds down in Detroit. There are teams across the state. I just happen to be the one up here. But there's people like me all over the state wrangling these folks. So when we're doing this tonight, one of the things I wanted you to understand about we the people hosting this event is that you are in solidarity with people in Detroit, in Benton Harbor, in Lansing, in Niles, in Cadillac, in Traverse City. You're in solidarity with folks that are immigrated here, documented and undocumented. You're in solidarity with working class folks and disabled folks, Native communities. Like, this is a statewide thing where what we're focusing on is those things that affect all of us. And making sure that the people in the community have the voice that they need to make the change we need to see. So, yeah, thanks very much. Honestly, like a pretty big team pulled this together. And I'm really grateful for the enthusiasm and generosity of attention and efforts from those folks. So Donovan, I'll actually turn it back over to you to kind of tee us up for, as we're tackling these questions, what are we doing tonight?
So as Ruby touched in on, one of the main things really, or one of the main mechanisms we've been working through with We the People in Marquette so far has been communications with our County Board of Commissioners. Through regular attendance at these meetings, we most recently learned that there is a $5 million surplus that the county is trying to figure out how to allocate. They get very upset when we refer to it as American Rescue Plan Act funds. I'll let you know, it is not American Rescue Plan Act funds. It's a surplus that exists because of the usage of American Rescue Plan Act funds. The good news about that means there's no deadlines, there's no specific way that they need to use it. The bad news is there's no specific way that they need to use it. In the first meeting we heard about, they had an outline which we've displayed on a lovely pie chart right here of what their thoughts are according to their staffers working within the courthouse of the best ways to use this surplus funding. The real kind of take home that I can give you is that this whole chunk right here, right now, is facilities based for the county. Is in new air conditioning for the historic courthouse, in a plan for maybe a future down the road new jail building, and updating sill plates and some kind of standard bear everyday maintenance and upkeep. We're not here to say that that stuff isn't worthwhile, but as these $5 million exist in their general fund right now, originally came from Relief Plan Act funds. We're here to say the community is still hurting from COVID era. The community is still hurting from 2 months ago, from 4 months ago. The community will continue to hurt. And what's becoming more and more apparent is that the federal lawmakers and the state lawmakers are getting pinched more and more in their funding of how to support communities like ours and day-to-day lives. And so that becomes even more important on this granular, smaller level here in our counties, how we use these funds. And if we let the county just walk away and put $5 million into their courthouse, then we haven't represented what we really need. And so our whole idea is to be here in the room to recognize what our needs are and to start a conversation, to start a dialogue with the county commission saying, you need to listen to us. You represent us, please represent our interests. Look outside of your own building. So we've invited a couple of representatives from some public services and some support organizations to speak tonight. We're also hoping to have a couple of impacted individuals speak to how those services have benefited them and how they might actually be able to possibly prosper in the future if they had a little bit more funding looking their way. So with that, I'm now going to put some people on the spotlight. Taylor, if I could have you come up and speak. Taylor Clipp is here tonight as a representative of the MarkTran board.
And podium or just stand?
Whatever you're most comfortable with. You're in the compost heap with us, so let's make it work.
I'll be fast. So I represent MarkTran, although nothing that I'm about to say should be brought back to MarkTran. As pertains to my opinion about the county commission and where they're what they're doing with some of these dollars. So yeah, they kind of surprised us and told us that this money was, well, not surprised us, surprised them that the dollars were actually free and clear. And our organization basically provides transport for any citizen in Marquette County who is in need of transport. And we have certain priorities: ADA, illness, people that can't get around, and then people that can't drive. They are our main priority, and that's one reason we see a lot of. If you'll, I didn't know this before I joined MarkTran's board. If you see a bus driving by with nobody in it, it's not because we're terrible at our job. It's because somebody probably just got dialysis. And we cover a big county. This is, it's the largest county in the state. There's a whole lot of nothing between some of our towns, and what we're trying to do right now is actually bring ourselves up into like the, I don't know, late 20th century, maybe not 21st century. Add some apps where you can tell where a bus is. Actually, you probably noticed there's a lot of smaller vehicles out there, and we're trying to become a little more nimble so we can do some of the door-to-door work that started. We have fixed routes, which are kind of your normal, when you think of like an urban bus route. We have a number of those, but because of the way this county's built, we have to do a lot of fixed door-to-door. In fact, during COVID, we were doing nothing but door-to-door. So we're making that transition back in, and what we're actually, our idea for some of these dollars, not much of it, we're actually run mostly by millage and by state funds. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that the millage is coming up in August, but we're an important, that's a good, we're an important thing to think about in August if you make your way into a polling area. What we're trying to do is just get some new software in, stack the buses with slightly better technology, actually make them, right now we have some apps the state's put in place that sort of work, but sort of also, if you let them go, just drive buses into a field. We're refining those with the companies that are providing those apps to us. But what we're also trying to do is create an experience so that our primary customers, our primary clients, people that might have trouble getting around, people who might have some other physical limitations, we want to make sure that their experience from booking to their final delivery is as good as possible. And that means having really good tech kind of on the side of, okay, what's the user experience like? And right now our user experience has a whole lot of upside we could achieve by just little gains. So that's one thing we think should be done with some of these dollars.
Thanks, Heather.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm still here. Okay, well, thank you very much, Taylor, for sharing that little insight for us with MarkTran. If I could ask Tina Taylor, would you like to come up here and speak to a little bit of the impacts of mobility and transport that you've experienced in Marquette County?
Hey everybody, I'm Tina Taylor, longtime resident of Marquette. I have had ongoing health problems for most of my adult life. And back in 2011, I was partially paralyzed from a spinal cord injury. So at that time, I was very immobile and dependent on wheelchair access to things, and I couldn't drive. So my ability to get to doctor's appointments or anything was dependent on services like Marktran. Now, it has definitely been a minute since I've had to use Marktran, but when I needed it, I really needed it. And I think that right now I live in a low-income housing in Marquette called Whetstone, and we are on the fixed route, but many of our residents don't drive for one reason or another. And as most neighbors do, we share information and concerns, and I think that there are a multitude of things that could be improved with more funding. Like we live in the UP and it's really cold for most of the year, and knowing where the bus was and how close it was, so you knew when to go outside and wait at a bus stop would be super, super helpful. When I was using Marktran more consistently, it was hard to get an appointment for door-to-door services. There is a structure and a hierarchy of who gets to make appointments 2 weeks in advance and who has to use same-day kind of services. And depending on if you've gone through the paperwork to get ADA certified and all those kinds of things, creates different levels of how often or how quickly you can schedule an appointment. Well, we all know in the UP, getting a doctor's appointment is usually months in advance, and then if you make that appointment and you can't actually get a door-to-door route scheduled until like 2 days before, and it's not available, then what do you do? So I just wanted, I guess, to take the opportunity to say how grateful I am to Marktran for being there when I needed them, as much as they could be, but to make sure that everybody was hearing that there are a multitude of people and persons for varying reasons who really do depend on transportation services. And we consider ourselves the premier city in the UP. And our transportation is often lacking. And when you start then looking at outside of our little 5-minute town, all the people in the outlying areas have to come and use our little 5-minute town, are stuck really in a severe position with weather and all the things. So I just wanted to say that I feel very strongly that yes, I agree, all of the infrastructure things need to be addressed, but public transportation is pretty limited, and we have a community who really would benefit from better public transportation. So.
Thank you, Tina. So again, coming back into our compost ethos here, as much as we have a large crew that's been working very hard to put this together, we kind of scrambled at the last minute. So there was a large spectrum of organizations that we reached out to. We really kind of tried to touch on transport, healthcare, housing, and food. And transport, obviously, we've had represented here. But now I'd like to transition, which works very well with Tina's share as well, into healthcare. And I believe, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, Hannah Harriman?
Yeah, sure.
I believe is here to talk to us a little bit about healthcare in Marquette County.
Sure.
Thank you, Hannah.
I just want to look at this because I'm doing my bifocal.
Two of those tiniest slivers there are Room at the Inn and Jansen House.
Woo.
And those are the only two representative pieces that we can see that go into actual community care.
We would be there tonight, then.
Was that?
Jansen Justice.
Oh,
Oh,
fantastic.
I was exactly
Also, lovely speaker and future speakers who could share. Lydia is timekeeping for us. So Lydia,
Yes,
let's
if
give
you're
you a
looking
little
at your
sample.
hand gestures
That's
at you,
how
not
Yeah, just so folks are.
My name is Hannah, and I've worked in, I'm a registered nurse, and I've worked in this community for, I don't know, almost 20 years. And my life didn't change much during COVID. I still went to work every day. My biggest comment is, if the county has excess money that isn't ARPA funds, what did they do with those ARPA funds? That would be really nice to know. And my big concern is what's going to be the next pandemic and how are we going to prepare for that? And the people that do prepare for that, and also help protect our community from, communicable diseases and focus on emergency preparedness, immunizations, family planning, evidence-based programming that support our community members. Those types of things should be funded, not building a new jail. Because when we focus on that, maybe we don't need to jail as many people. Drug prevention programs, syringe services, those type of things. And that is your local health department. And not just improving the building, but like actually funding those programs. And I would encourage you to look at the pay of these people that work at these places. There are people who work at these support services that qualify for federally funded programs, and that's just kind of absurd for our county funded places that they're also struggling with food, housing, because they're not being paid a livable wage. So that's what I would say. Let's focus on the health of our county, the people who are in it. And one way that they can be healthy is if they can get to their appointments with public transportation, which is a huge barrier for people. They can't get there to see their doctors, so they can stay healthy. So, thank you.
And now's the part where we have an impact speaker. Is there anyone who might want to talk about a healthcare encounter that they've had in their lives and how it could be better represented if we had more funding for some of our health programs? I
I
know.
can give a real quick thing. When we deal with the homeless population and housing crisis, many of those people only use emergency rooms. Okay. We've kind of talked about something else, but in terms of health impact, many of those people use emergency rooms. If you send somebody to the emergency room, it's like $800-900. If you come through a place like Room at the Inn or the Jansen House, case management is going to try to get you lined up with Medicaid rather than emergency dollars. You're going to see a family practitioner. You're going to have one or two $200 visits per year. They're going to be able to prescribe chronic medications, blood pressure. There's a whole gauntlet of them. And those are going to then also be covered by Medicaid. They're going to come from a pharmacy. There's going to be a copay. So we've used these dollars to keep our infrastructure good, but then our program is a trampoline. And if we can organize people that are in chaos into some of the same procedural routes that the rest of us have, we really, really bring down the cost of the community. So sometimes people look at the benefit as like, oh, somebody's going to get a free ride to the doctor. Anyone that does not get a Medicaid-assisted ride to the doctor will be paying for it through emergency rooms. It's ineffective. You can get emergency relief, you can't get any chronic relief, and you can't really have ongoing medical care. So you really actually shrink the cost of medicine if you find a regulated way to help the people from no benefits on to benefits. And a lot of people think benefits cost more money, but if you're in my world, benefits cost much less money.
Not to call on the spur of a moment again, but did either one of you want to speak more widely about the Jansen House? Or you want to just give Brett
Sure, I will.
Just need that little pause.
So just to explain this, when COVID money first hit, Room at the Inn and the Jansen House qualified for $100,000 infrastructure grants. We spent that on new windows. We've restored dozens of rooms. Our building is like an old railroad hotel, and they just put up, drop ceilings and the old softwood floors. So we've been able to, room by room, go through, but to do a room, you have to actually have a room open. So this has been over the course of 3 or 4 years. We put in fire doors, and the one thing that I would say why we need it for infrastructure is we have an 8-bed emergency shelter. Room at the Inn has 30 beds of emergency shelter, and they usually have 8 to 10 overflow every night. Our rental rooms we rent for $260 a month. And that is about $100 under what it costs to operate them. And then that would just be the operational cost, not fixing things up, which is required for insurances and best practice. So we are bringing people in from broken relationships, from substance abuse treatment facilities, from jail, from prisons. Also people that have been living with family members. Family members died and your primary caregiver is gone. And when people arrive at the building for all of those reasons, we are offering an abundance of case management. And along your point being in Whetstone, our solutions are these literally year-long wait lists because most of the people that we assist don't have cars. So we literally say, you're going to want to be on a bus route. You're going to want to go to Whetstone, Oriana Ridge, Pine Ridge, which is just right over the corner. And the social distortion that we can take out of the mix is that if you've lived in chaos, people call it couch surfing. That's a really bad term. It's not fun, and it makes it sound like it's like you're just at your buddy's couch surfing. You're homeless, and you're bouncing between places, right? And you have survival skills that when things go wrong, tell you don't stay on the phone banks, just go back where you came from, live out of a book bag, right? Room at the Inn. Alex is here, I think, and his wife runs Room at the Inn, so I just have to, I'm always nodding that direction. And so, but you're always on on a gerbil wheel, right? It takes about 1 year to 3 years to get someone off a gerbil wheel. They have to remediate a ton of legal things, decide if they're going to go from refugee status to having a day job and keeping a day job. 2 minutes, okay? And so the reason that we would like more county funds is anything that we can put onto the infrastructure, we can match our primary goal of not raising rents above $260, although we're going to have to raise it to $280. But rents in Marquette run $600, $700, $800, right? And so everyone has the theory that people need to improve themselves and pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but unless you actually have a trampoline that you can take a few years to bounce around on, and then you bounce out to a permanent solution. So the people that we assist rarely come back, but you can't actually do it any faster than humans can heal, and that usually is a year, 2 or 3 years in our programs. And so we would use money just to defray the cost of what we have to fix down there so that we can keep the operational costs that our residents use as low as possible while they're working on their outcome. And then when we do that, as long as they're actively working for us, we have very few time limits. We just need to make sure they're working on housing-focused case management goals. But humans don't work in 30, 90, 180-day cycles. So we tend to take a lot of time and then hope that the impact is more permanent. And transportation, we couldn't operate without Mark and we're like right next to the bus stop. We have donors that give us huge batches of tickets and we hand them out all day. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent, twice, at least. I actually talk a little bit about some of the things from a personal standpoint, what Brent's speaking to. Before I moved up to the UP in 2021, I left a really, really toxic relationship of 5 years and was struggling with an awful lot of mental health difficulties personally. I was working in all sorts of sales-based fields at the time, so I was really good at putting the smile on, going out there and doing the things. But I was in a tumultuous cycle for the better part of 3 years of going through probably 3 or 4 different places to live. And not per se couch surfing, but vacation rental surfing, you know, while someone's parents were gone off in Florida. I had that spot for the winter and here and there. And kind of one of the lowest moments, one of the final pieces was my friend's second property, which he had inherited from his grandmother when she passed, which was full of all of her stuff and all of her family stuff from generations and generations, which the pipes had burst on years ago, so there's no running water. I did have electricity. I did not have air conditioning in the second or the first story. So, board, I hope you get yours. But I don't recall even how long that I lived there, but it was a very difficult circumstance. And it kind of brings me back to a piece that I actually heard recently at a panel discussion that Room at the Inn had down at the ORDOC, where someone talked about, you know, Marquette has an unhoused population. And they kind of talked about Munising doesn't really have so much unhoused population. If people get to that dire straits, they find their way here. But the bigger piece they talked about was the community. Was the fact that when people got down to their lowest, their community banded together and looked after them. And that's kind of the piece where I feel my impact in that moment was I was fortunate to have the community that had that literal roof and plug outlets, you know, to keep me going. That was my trampoline in that moment. You know, if I actually had the opportunity to find more of a communal space where more people were, you know, working through that together, who knows how the circumstance would have been different. But they're such important services to provide for people because we're all just here trying to survive. So our original intentions was that this would be a town hall, which we've kind of been running through here. We like to think this is our first town hall as We the People, UP, so we're kind of proud of pulling this much together. But we were thinking because of the short time frame of getting everything together that we would actually transition now to do more of a conversation and more of actually a story prep. Because really our big ask of you all here today is, unfortunately we don't have any commissioners in the room to say, hey, will you help us out? So we need to take this conversation to the committee, to the commissioners, the Board of Commissioners. So they will be meeting, they meet on an every 2-week cycle. So tomorrow night they will be meeting in the courthouse annex at 6 p.m. And we are hoping we can get a large proportion of you all to sit down with us tonight to put together what our personal stories are, to sway the commissioners to understand what life is like when we're not sitting in their chair, and to tell our personal stories. You know, there's a lot of people working on all sorts of letter writing and email writing initiatives right now to let all sorts of representatives, local, state, and federal know how you feel and what facts you know are going on. But We the People really works through our story of self. And so what we want to do is we want to encourage you to dig into yourself and really find those moments that you struggle and find how that connects to these possible organizations and possible services up here. Without going too further, that's just kind of like a little setup so you can be thinking in mind. But we're going to do a little break here for everyone to grab some snacks. And then we're also going to try, we'd like to get everyone to figure out what their district is so that they know who their commissioner is. We'll kind of connect this in. I don't know if you're aware, but there is an election season coming up here. And there are a number of commissioners that will be moving on or will be looking for re-election. So we kind of want to get in that mind frame right now.
Yeah. I'll explain this little activity piece, and then we'll take a little 5-minute break to get snacks and stretch our legs. Marquette County, the map I wanted to look a little nicer.
It looks like
Thank you. Fabulous file. Here we go. I've just got colored dots. So I was thinking, stick a dot in the commission district that applies to you. There's probably going to be some looking up online going on here as well, because this little guy, this is kind of the city of Marquette. This is Ishpeming-Negaunee area, but there's also like areas outside, so there might be some looking up. It's also not a test. Take a guess. And then we were also hoping that people could find the other folks that are in their district. So yeah, but we've got some dots, we've got some snacks.
If you don't know your commissioner or your district, we can show you some places you can look, and
Yes.
Vote 411 will also tell you what your district is.
Yep.
So if you have that on your phone, Vote 411 is the League of Women Voters site. Take you where you go.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Also, if so my team in the room that knows where to go to look up what district we're in and stuff. Could you raise your hand? Anybody else feel confident about that? I'll help you. Yeah? All right, cool. All right, yeah. So it's 6:42 right now, so let's meet back at 6:48 and be ready to settle in for Act 2. I don't know, stickers for
Yes, it would. By the end of the day, I know we just know each other around.
I'd love to put a name tag on
Let's do pink.
it.
You'll get sick. That's your response. That's the good one. That's
where we work. I'm thinking of doing that. Oh, no. Big bang boom. Oh my God. There you go.
Which one did I only forget? And yeah, move forward. Yeah, they live in a little cabin. And then my brother was we're having to put Rob on. It's not sustainable.
Please stop in.
All right. So, thanks everybody. Okay. Thanks everybody for speaking on it as well, like speaking to this issue in the community. We wanted to take this time. The ask is, as Donovan said, making a public comment at tomorrow night's county commission meeting to let them know we're paying attention to this. We would like them to rethink how they're prioritizing the spending of this $5 million. And what would really impact the community. So I made up these little handy dandy half sheets, and I've got some pens. And I kind of wanted to give a kind of a quick and dirty how to make a public comment. So the way we kind of structure these is values, villains, vision. So what are the values? My name is Ruby Miller. I live here in Marquette. I'm a community organizer. I'm a big sister. I'm queer. I care about this community being a place where folks get a fair shake and where queer people are safe and accepted and have opportunities and where we take care of each other. And it's frustrating when I see our leaders fund things like air conditioning in the courthouse with funds left over from COVID instead of things like public transit that would really support the community, instead of things like healthcare, instead of things like housing, instead of things like food security support. These are real needs in the community that need solutions. And we can choose a different path. We can make this a place where everyone can thrive by reprioritizing how we're spending that $5 million surplus. So that's basically, I'll pass these out and you'll see that I kind of filled in the blanks here as they apply to me. And the reason that we kind of take this tact and why we focus on like, who am I, is because we are an expert in our own lived experience. We are experts on what we need to live here in this county, on what we struggle with in making life work here in this county, on what helps us thrive and on what sets us back. Like, we are the experts in our own lived experience. So there can be a temptation to point at facts and figures, and there can be a temptation to point at like a larger principle of the thing or something like that. And I'm not saying that those things don't apply. They're part of the thing. However, I kind of like to focus on like, you have something unique. There's a conversation that can only be had with the people you're in the room with. And that only happens if you tell them something that they can't look up because it's yours, because it's your experience, because it's a challenge you've faced, or your vision for what the community could be. Like, you have to tell them something that they couldn't look up. And we want to keep that thesis in view of reprioritize this $5 million to stuff that more directly impacts our community and what it means. I know it can be vulnerable to share about these struggles, share about these challenges, and it can be vulnerable to share about your hopes too. It can be vulnerable to share about what you'd like to see. It can be vulnerable to share those things and share your own lived experience, and I think that's partly where the temptation to go back into facts and figures is. But they know, for one thing. Odds are good, at least. And we're not litigating something. We're sharing our experience, getting the voice in the room. They're supposed to represent the needs of the people. They don't know that unless we tell them. So I actually wanted to, did folks, it looks like folks found themselves on the map. Let's see, how many people do we still have in here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
I just wanted to make a comment now that the news is done. The courthouse, I think, used some of that ARPA money to already do upgrades. They got new furniture and curtains.
Guess they should have prioritized AC over comfy chairs.
For themselves.
We've been joking about waiting for the bus on the second floor of the courthouse in the AC. Looking out the window to look at the bus stop.
We should make it a designated bus stop.
Yes.
I'm just saying, there's lots of us are working without AC.
The health department, we have to find new chairs, but we're like, chairs are like cracked and crusty.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'm not anti, upgrades to a building, and I'm not anti restoring
Well, that's
the
the
facade of the
priority
building.
over all the
Exactly, it's the
things.
priority. Exactly, yes.
It's like court and jail, and that's it.
Yep. I think if we could split into groups of 3, actually. I think we could make 7 little groups of 3. Try to pick people you don't already know. And if anybody's curious, I think, Daisy, you've got one of these, but I printed out the pages from the packet on March 3rd that have the details of the breakdown that's on the pie chart, just if anybody wants to see that. This is in the packet from that meeting, so this is available online. But yeah, so groups of 3 sound good?
To do what?
Okay, thank you.
Before I pick partners, I'd like to know what
Can everybody see in my brain? No. So groups of 3, I'm going to hand these little guys out, and I'll set a timer for 5 minutes, and you'll kind of take some time to reflect on this, and then we'll set another timer for 5 minutes, and you'll share with each other. It's going to be kind of quick, but you'll share with each other in your little group. And then if somebody's got a particularly good one that you're like, yes, that is, you've hit it, we'd like to invite those folks to share as an example to the bigger group when we come back together. So it'll be like 5 minutes of just kind of give this a think, 5 minutes of give it a share, and then we'll have people share out into the big group. And we're all back together. Does that sound good? All right.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just
Well, there's three of us, but two of us are like there. I'm trying to force her. You don't guys.
think 5 minutes to write individually, or?
Yeah, 5 minutes to kind of come up with it, and then I'll do it me, and then.
Yeah, it's like with me, I'm actually a systematic, you know, I have a few specialists on certification, and in my own experience, like the hunger reduction program alone has saved my life, so. Oh, I got you. The joke total has extra,
Okay. And this first. Share. No, go ahead. I took the whole thing over.
Yeah, it's hard to even You know, it's hard to find to accept compliments, no one, but oh, I don't know. Just say thank you. That's what's on That's my, I don't know, experience. That's my reflex is like find every reason not to accept. Where that comes from.
and then as like a gender especially with some of the laws that we have passed, you know, I mean, like a felony offense for having these Oh yeah, no, I actually was switched to a doctor to receive gender still and then after saying that but going back to the Honda, something that I was thinking about.
Oh, I wasn't about to think we made groups. I already know what I'm going to say. I know what I was going to say. Oh, wow. That's great.
Like that just because it's like, you know, so many people.
Also, I'm really good at ad-libbing if I need to do it.
Especially out in like areas like wind, which can bring like a safe use, like would really like just make people's lives safer. You know, it's like wow. Yes, please do. Oh,
That's all right. That's so.
All right, that was
60 seconds. There's only 60 seconds left.
Which then also just made them smart. So,
I know that's what
So like, just coming back to this public transportation, are so important, especially if they want for co-related on treatment programs, and I think those are both the categories.
no, I was, this is making a place where I feel that okay, so there you go. That was
Which is why it's so frustrating when I see our leaders. One convenience issues like air conditioning, house, they all use
It's ridiculous. Like a quarter of it. My name is Brian. I'm a small business. Like which is make sure that you are instead of waiting
somebody's really speaking the truth, encourage them to.
This is our payroll.
Exactly.
So it's to do at the airport. And so there's like a thing going on right now where there's like a contracted group out who handles all the security. And now the county is looking to take that on themselves.
We know the new, just like,
Well, it's
the county, like, executive.
Yeah. But no, so they're going to need more money because they're going to be running themselves, basically.
That is huge on this. There's so many people in the community, especially in our folks that are in and Square. West and Michigan, right, that need to come into town and it's huge. Whoever
When you were saying that,
Yeah.
Hey folks, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna draw our attention again.
Treatment for resources is a fraction of the cost of but it's always
alrighty.
If I talk to the homeless person, they're like, they just disappear.
Four. I think you can hear me with three. Nice to, I don't know, it's always nice to pull a group back that's chattering a lot, I'm glad the discussion's rolling. Does anybody want to point at somebody they heard from that they feel like they're speaking truth, spitting fire? Daisy, would you like to start?
Yes, I would. Should I come up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we do have this
Okay.
online streaming to the Thursday night here as well, so that folks that weren't able to make it in person are also able to enjoy it.
Well, hi, laptop folks. Okay, so hi, hello, my name is Daisy Ray. I live in the Thode District neighborhood. I am a community member. I care about this county being a place where like people who are experiencing substance abuse disorder and people who are like queer can find a safe place to go. I also woke up room at the inn. I'm not here representing them by any means though. I would just like to make that noticeable, but it's so frustrating to see how much funding we have for the local jail while putting in that same funding for harm reduction services, which have mostly saved my life in the past, and recovery services and homeless services can directly shrink the fund for the local jail that we need. Also, along with that, we are housing a lot of federal detainers. Those are not our community members. Why are they being put in our jail? Why is it on us and my taxpayer money to build a new jail? Where it could easily be put into a harm reduction program, a recovery program, or even a safe use site that I would personally love to see in the future in our community. That's it.
Yay! We get pointed out a lot.
So mine's a little off script because Zeke actually while he was going through his, reminded me of something that bothers me, even though I didn't write it down. So I work at a current medical facility in an admin capacity where this doesn't directly impact me per se, but I see it, where we do not have any youth psych facilities here in the Upper Peninsula. Everybody gets shipped anywhere else. And it'd be nice to see funding or access for providers to be able to come here and provide support for the youth of the UP in any capacity. Because we see on the other side of the floor, because I work on the psych unit, but not in the psych unit, we see the adult psych. We're always shipping people out of there too, because it is so small. It's just our mental health facilities here are extremely limited, and whether it be for the youth psych or the adult psych, we need more.
Anybody else? These are great. Like, I just kind of want to take a pause and say thank you, Daisy Ray. Thank you, Aiden, for sharing. Thank you for the specificity, the clarity of priority. That's what we need. Does anybody else have somebody that they heard from? You want to go?
They pointed at me. Hello, computer people. Also, I'm a Ruby rule follower, so my name is Brooke. I use they, them pronouns, and I live in the Chalkley neighborhood. I'm a contractor, a dog dad, and a volunteer firefighter. And I'm here because I care about this community being a place where neighbors help neighbors. My quick story is when I came to move back to Marquette, I was in my young 20s at the time. I just left a job that I won't explain why it was bad. Came back to Marquette where I had friends, and I figured I could find somewhere to live pretty easy. It was not easy. I couch surfed for quite a few weeks before I finally thought I found somewhere good. Apartments.com. It's gotta be real. I show up to this house, 8 people are living there. The owner did not meet me. It was just another person that lived in the house, showed me to my room. There was no locking door, no kind of lock on the door. The main door to the house, nobody had a key. Nobody in the whole house had a key. So just altogether not a very safe place for a 20-year-old queer person to be living, 20-year-old of any gender or identity to be living, but that's what it was. So, which is why it's so frustrating when our leaders fund air conditioning instead of community programs that help housing. And in my neighborhood, I would like to see that improvement. But we can choose a different path. We can make this place better for everyone. We fund housing programs. Thank you.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Brooke. That's great. We've touched on some really good stuff here. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to speak to that maybe we haven't touched on yet tonight? Or in this, we've heard about.
Oh, yeah, so actually I saw on the sheet that broke down the funding, we are funding our drug coat more than our transportation support. And I have closely known people that live out in Base, Gwynn, Ishpeming that were not able to make it to their programs because of lack of being able to drive. So instead of getting the help they need when they were actually doing what they needed to do, full drug coat, they went to jail.
Yes.
What even happened after?
Yes.
So that's something I said that I'm closely disgusted with.
Another great point. Another great point in public transit too, and how vital these things are.
That drug testing drug court is a joke. Sorry.
So, does anybody else have a public comment rundown they would like to share with the crew? Yeah?
Bingo.
Yeah.
How many minutes do you get when you go before the commission?
3. Yep.
Okay.
3 minutes. So there's 2 public comment periods, one at the beginning of the meeting and one at the end. You can attend on Zoom and you can give public comment from Zoom. And you can also, if you cannot make it to the meeting or the virtual meeting, you can also email your county commissioners. I meant to have a printout of their contact info, and I didn't get that printed up with all the other printouts.
If you know you can't make it, come see me. I can show you where. It's a little tricky to find their contact info on the website, but it is on the county's website. But it is on there. It's just let me know if you need help navigating the various sub-menus to get there.
Cool. Thank you very much. So for the last piece of this, we'll wrap up. It's almost 1:30.
Can I ask you a question before you do that?
Yeah.
Do we know if this is actually on their agenda for tomorrow?
I don't believe that this is on their agenda. No. We're like, they had it on the agenda on March 3rd, and then they had a work session on the 19th or something like that, at one of the subsequent ones.
Could I, to that question, Tina, yeah, it's not on this upcoming agenda. What we saw, or what I have seen with like when we were bringing people to the commission to say, you know, that initial time that several people showed up and said, we want the county to make some sort of a resolution about non-cooperation with ICE.
Right.
That was in February. Beginning of February was the first time we went. April 14th was when something finally got on the agenda and shown. And so while it's not on this agenda, I think getting something done with the county commission and the board takes multiple times of showing up. And so I think like this first time going would be like, if you can't make it this time, the next time that it's on, the next time.
I was asking more so like if I have people that maybe haven't had a minute between if I talk to them tonight and tomorrow, to formulate what they would like to say, they could still make a public comment to say, I would like to see this issue put on the agenda. And I wanted to emphasize that we have time, that you don't, it's not like a one and done kind of a,
absolutely.
If you can't speak tomorrow, you still have the opportunity to affect change.
You guys,
yes.
I think too, like on this whole rolling conversation, like there's no express like resolution to allocate these funds.
Nope.
This is an ongoing conversation and something that they need to discuss with their staffers. So that's kind of a big thing here. What's sitting up there is what the staffers of the commission have decided has the most importance. So I think this is going to be a little bit more of a, once again, we are trying to open the conversation. We're trying to say you need to engage with the public on this. We just found out in a Mark-Tran board meeting the other night that there's no like direct line of communication going on right now. And that's a millage-based organization that's directly tied into county funds. And the county commission isn't exactly conversing with them. In fact, Taylor, who came here tonight, kind of stepped up in that meeting and was like, it sounds like I need to be the person that once or twice a year goes and reports out to them, because they're not asking for a report out right now. In another conversation, we found out that there was a, Jansen House, Brent talked about $100,000 that they had gotten. Room at the Inn had gotten one of those, and a chunk of that is what's remaining, which is what that $50,000 is there for now. And the Board of Commissioners is going, what's up with that $100,000? I thought we gave that to them years ago. It took me 2 messages to find out exactly what's going on with that $100,000. They're not doing any kind of due diligence follow-up. So right now, they are sitting in the courthouse, running the county from the courthouse as a legislative body. They need to engage in conversation with us. And that's what we're really trying to advocate for. And so again, the urgency piece is kind of floating, but the continuity piece is kind of really what we're striving for right now. Even with the resolution, it takes that, but especially with a larger ask like this of saying, talk to us, we're going to need to keep showing up regularly. So again, also to the point of people who can't turn around and come to a meeting tomorrow night, there will be another one in another 2 weeks. I really do support the idea, though, of having them bring it onto the agenda again and perhaps getting them to hold another work session where they actually invite community members, community organization representatives to come and speak with them instead of just having their county staffers sitting there deciding what's going on.
Yeah.
What are their county staffers?
We can get into those weeds a little bit. Like, I was gonna actually like piggyback on that. Like, we also like, so we the people, we are building a network of leadership in this area to do these sorts of things, to get these voices into the room. So it's not just show up at the county commission. Like, I do hope you signed in. We will be bugging you. Because we as a group, this isn't like Ruby picked out the ask here for the county commission. It's like we all did as a team, you know, through conversations that we're having with each other and in the community. This is a we thing, not a, you know, I have my own goals here. I know how they're in alignment with Donovan's and Zeke's and Caitlin's and Lydia's. Like, that's the thing. And getting those goals in alignment and working together to push these things. So we need to sharpen these asks. We need to stay in communication. We need to hold them accountable. We need to stay involved. So, yeah, getting into the weeds on like who are these, you know, how do we target the decision makers? You know, that's a good question. And I want to have that conversation too. But I want to like respect people's time here tonight too. I passed out these things. I was thinking for a final thing. First off, I would like to do for this meeting together in We the People fashion. We kind of do a debrief when we gather. Like, what did we do well? What do we need to improve on? So we call these pluses and deltas. So there's pluses like what went well, like what did you appreciate. Deltas are like what could have been better, what could have gone smoother, what are things that you'd like to see different next time. I added in gratitudes in there as well. So if you saw somebody do something cool, if you heard somebody do something cool, if you got helped out by somebody or you appreciate something about it and you just want to express the gratitude for that, I've added gratitudes to the list as well. But, and I didn't bring any flip charts. And I had a marker. I don't know where the marker went. Here's the marker. Maybe this works. So let's do a little pluses, deltas, gratitudes. Who's got some pluses and deltas and gratitudes to share? Right.
Well, pluses, very well organized.
Oh,
Very concise, detailed information. Gratitude, great snacks.
Snacks. Yeah, that's everybody say thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Anybody else have a plus delta? Let's go you first.
A plus and a gratitude, having representation from our and Jensen House provide great information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. I can't write fast enough tonight.
I just think the personal stories really made the points like stand out.
Yeah.
And I guess I do have one delta, like the words on the pie chart probably could have been
Bigger.
Fully acknowledged.
I know.
As a graph junkie, it's like
Pie chart font size?
yeah. Which is hard. I always suggest you can take a picture and put that on your Facebook page or something, and then refer people if they can't see it from the back of the room. Say log in and look.
And also, like, I did print off a couple copies of the breakdown from the packet. So this is the info. You can have one if you want one, if you want to take a look at the particulars. Zeke.
Gratitude to Youpers Unite for letting us use the streaming.
Yes, thank you, and gratitude to the folks who joined us online.
And then a delta, I'm not sure how sore of a subject this is going to be, but it really would have been nice if the commissioners had represented themselves here.
Piggyback on that, Delta.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for appreciating the organization, but we could have worked a little harder at getting some of these things to advance notice, the organizations, and yeah, getting a little bit more of a tightly set agenda together would have been nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Off the
we did
back of
pivots.
that, huge
List,
gratitude
lists,
to everyone showing up, and not only showing up, but sticking through to do this little workshop piece with us. I really appreciate knowing that you're in the room with us, and I really appreciate you willing to work with us in this beautiful compost heap that will nourish some beautiful gardens to grow.
I was gonna say, as an avid gardener in this community, I'm loving compost.
Yeah.
The metaphor works well.
I want to express gratitude. Donovan has been kind of spearheading this little effort here, and I want to express gratitude to Donovan for that, for one thing, in general, but also for kind of making it your own, bringing your own ethos and your own perspective into it. You know, the compost heap pile is like, that's the bringing your own thoughts into it. I appreciate that a lot.
I will echo that gratitude because I was going to say thank you for bringing us together and alerting us to this and calling out people that you felt should really be in the room. I thought that was great. My delta is it is a lot easier to organize people, I think, in my opinion. If you're like, okay, this is the date, this is the focus for this thing. This is the date, this is focus, or this is what we need people to show up for on this day. I think it's a little bit easier to get, you know, if you want a big showing at a county commission meeting. Like, okay, we're going to be there, this is the day, this is the location, this is the time, this is what we're speaking to. Be there, please. And having them, like, posted well enough in advance that people can, like, really put it on their calendar and keep poking people about it. Keep poking me about it with my information that you have.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the poking, the gardening metaphor is good.
Yeah.
It's gardening, not
It is.
engineering.
Yeah.
You know, it is it's an interesting process.
I would just like to say gratitude for everyone for showing up, because it's, well, I don't even know what day it is. It's Monday. Monday, and Monday nights are hard. So I did some community organizing back in the day, and getting people to show up is the hardest thing. So excellent job.
Yes.
And positives, the snacks, man. LaCroix, my favorite.
I just want to remind you all that if you don't have organic matter in your dirt, you just have sand. You don't grow anything in sand.
Gratitude for the library for giving us
Oh,
a space.
yeah, always.
I'm in here all the time.
One of yet another public services that I'm sure could use more funded.
Right? Yes. Well, it's providing vital services that I use constantly. So, I guess to wrap up, who's planning on making the commissioners meeting tomorrow night? Sweet. Who's planning on submitting a comment virtually? Sweet. Who can think of somebody else they can invite along? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the expansion part. Thank you. That's so great. So I passed these out, and the last thing that I wanted to do was, like, we're putting our little visual together here. So funding us means funding what? And I thought we could fill these out and stick them in the U and the S and make these nice colorful things. We'll see how that works. And that's the last thing to kind of do on your way out. And thank you very much for being here. Does anybody else have anything else want to say for a close?
Wait, what did you just say with sticking these? I just don't.
Fund us means what? What do you want to see funded?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Put it in the U and the S of the fund us.
I'll start seed funding.
You have markers too, if you want to make it bold.
Yeah. I passed out the thin Sharpies
Oh, okay.
with these things, and I've got more of them. If you're we don't have quite enough Sharpies and things to go. Everybody got one.
A buzz, yes. Save you some.
Did you want one?
Please. Thank you.
We're going all over the place right now.
We did it.
Good.
I wrote you back, I'm sorry. I think that's really great.
As many as you want. You probably four. Do you want to go all four?
What are you talking about?
Give everyone donuts.
I don't think this is a good idea. Don't need it. I can name so many.
Thank you. All my folks. Zeke, if you want to wrangle the online folks, just say thank you very much. I even said that because it's right now. Makes fun, I personally on Zoom. And just say thank you, so we don't just like shut the laptop.
All right.
That happened in Zoom meetings.
Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you can make a comment tomorrow.
Six plus four staff. People in the semi-circle.
I would think of other like favors.
The drove of people there, I think that shows well.
I gotta run off to another meeting. Alright. I'm taking you with me.
Okay, cool.
It's on your ride.
Yeah.
So I'm heading.